On to lipids. So lipids, also known as fats and oils. Fats are solid at room temperature, oils are liquid at room temperature. That's the definition, literally. Okay, so if it's, if you heat, butter is a fat, and if you heat it up, it becomes liquid. So does it become an oil then? No, because you heat it up above room temperature. Okay, so again, I should have pointed out that with carbohydrates, as is in the name, right, carbohydrate, it's carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, right? And it's the same in lipids, but the ratio is not that 1:2:1 thing. It doesn't have that formula. So it's much more complicated than that. There is no simple ratio for CH and O in lipids, but it's the same elements. These are elements, right? Periodic table of elements. These are the elements that lipids are composed of. So the subunit is a triglyceride. Triglycerides themselves consist of two types of molecules. And I just want to point out just before we look at the structure of a triglyceride, you have these modified fats, modified lipids called phospholipids. And you'll see what the difference is there between a regular triglyceride and a modified one, a phospholipid. So let me just show you. This is a regular triglyceride. You might have seen it kind of, dangling this way with the fatty acid chains going like this. So this is the fatty acid chains here. The glycerol is usually the head. It's usually kind of written or drawn like this. I've deliberately not drawn it like that because they turn it. It can't be that they turn a diagram sideways that it throws people, and that happens all the time. One time they in the exams, you might have seen this exam question. Or in every book, the structure of DNA is like two strands like this. And in the exam one year, they gave us a structure like this. People are looking like, oh, never seen that before in my life. What is that? Because they didn't, sideways. And the reason they put it sideways, looked to me, was just so they could fit it on the paper. So just be careful that your eye able to identify them whichever way they are. So this is glycerol as the one of the molecules, and then dangling from the glycerol are these three fatty acid chains. And the kind of fatty acid chains tells you, gives different kinds of triglycerides, right? Different kinds of fats. And some fats, as you know, in diet, some fats are better than others in terms of nutritional value and causing disease and that kind of thing. So some very highly processed fats, if they've been really heat processed a lot, then they're really probably not very good for you. And then others, if they're plant-based, especially plant-based ones, can be very good for you. You might have heard omega H3 and omega H6 and these kind of things. Okay. So that's a regular triglyceride. This is a phospholipid. So you can see that the glycerol head is still there. The two fatty acid chains instead of three, one of the fatty acid chains has been replaced with a phosphate, right? So this is what if you really look at the detail, the zoom of a phospholipid, then you see. Why am I banging on about phospholipids? Because this is the molecule that cell membranes, which we'll look at next week, cell membranes are composed of. Plasma membranes or cell membranes. So looking at structural roles again, I said for each of these, we need to look at structural and metabolic roles. You need two examples really. So a structural role, well, I just mentioned one, they're used as the component of cell membranes. So they're used to build cell membranes. That's a good structural role. Lipids are also used, they're used to make, or they're part of the structure of neurons. So those neurons are the cell body is regular cell size, but neurons have this extension called an axon. It's like a fiber, and the fiber is coated with this fatty material called myelin. So that's a really good one. You also have fat in your adipose tissue, in the brown layers underneath your skin, and in sebum, for example, in the natural moisturizer that's produced in your skin, there are oils that are secreted in there which maintain the integrity of your skin so that cracks don't form, and that you're reasonably well waterproof, that you don't dehydrate, all that kind of stuff. That they're oils there to condition your skin. So they're all structural roles. Metabolic roles, well, again, I mentioned that you can store fat, unfortunately, as a source of energy in various places. For time, for times when there's no food around, then the idea in the old days, back in the day, that was the survival idea. So it is there as a fat storage. It has a structural and a metabolic role in that case, right? So it's long-term storage of energy, but it also, and it's not on the screen here, but you can also respire lipids.